Hello everyone, I am Yuki and today I'm going to show you what Linux is. But first let's start by talking about what an operating system is. An operating system, well, in exam terms anyway, not like anyone does exams in the audience anymore. Oh god, exams kill them. Anyway, a desktop operating system, in this case, as I'm on my desktop, is all the software required to make your computer work and do what you want. For example, this is Windows right now, and as you can see, I can load up Paint. You know, I can draw some dank memes. No, don't do this. This is bad. This is bad, okay? No. Anyway, so back to my desktop. This is Windows. This is a popular type of operating system. You know, it has software everyone knows, like Explorer. Ooh, Explorer. And, you know, Paint, which I just shown you, and it has many applications designed for it, like Steam. And this is the most common operating system. There's also operating systems such as Mac OS X, and we're going to be talking about, the one we're going to be talking about today is called Linux. This is a popular free open source, operating system. So, hey, let's see what it's all about. Hi, so for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using a piece of software for Windows called VirtualBox. What VirtualBox does is it allows you to run these different operating systems within another operating system. So I've got my computer set up as usual. Windows is the only operating system running on it at the moment, but with the help of this software, I can create a virtual machine. So a virtual computer running the operating system I give it. This is really awesome because that means I don't have to install the operating system manually. However, if you want the operating system as default on your computer, you'll need to follow some steps which I'll give later on. So today I will be showing you a operating system called Ubuntu. Ubuntu is what's called a distribution of Linux. It's Linux, rather than other operating systems like Windows, is basically the core, like what's allowing everything to run. Ubuntu is what the user experience is. Like, for example, Windows is based on Unix, and Ubuntu is based on Linux. This is not exactly technically accurate, but for demonstration purposes, this is how I'll explain it, because it's close enough for now. Unless you want to get into Unix and stuff, and that's where it starts to get a bit confusing. But this is an example of a desktop operating system, based on Linux. Ubuntu is one of the most popular and one of the most well known. As you can see, it runs on desktop, laptops, and it provides a similar experience as you'd find on Windows. For those who like their desktops looking good and want to show off a bit, there's another operating system called Elementary OS. Elementary OS is designed to look more like Mac OS X, but it's to be based on Linux. So you have the stability and speed of Linux and the looks of Mac OS X. And this is also similar to Ubuntu in the way it's very easy to use and get into. You just click on the download, or you can donate and purchase it. This is Bunsen Labs, or formerly Crunchbang. This is a more simplified version of Linux, but it isn't actually that simple because it's more tailored to people who know what they're doing with Linux and can customize it to their wildest dreams. Bunsen Labs uses something called OpenBox, which is like what's called a display manager, and it is very, very lightweight, so you can go onto those 4chan desktop threads and show off your totally simplified desktop that makes you look like an OP hacker. You're gonna hack some mainframes. Ooh. So I hear you wonder, why, if Linux is really that good, doesn't everyone use it? Well, there's a major problem. Linux, similar to Mac OS X, doesn't have the same amount of software that operating systems such as Windows have. Most desktop applications are made for Windows, they were, and due to compatibility, haven't been moved over to Linux or Mac OS X. So if you want to run Windows programs, for example, on Linux, you could use a piece of software within Linux called Wine. This allows you to run Windows programs, and although it is unstable, for some it will get them the application they really need within Linux. So you can have the speed of Linux and some of your familiar applications. Well, enough babbling on, let's show you Linux. So today I'm going to use a software called VirtualBox to set up a virtual copy of Linux on here, so I can show you how to install it and what it is. But if you want to install it on a real computer, you'd need to copy it to a USB and boot from the USB within a BIOS. There are a lot of tutorials for this available, but for now I'll show you how to do it within a virtual machine, as virtual machines are much more controlled environments that can be altered, and if everything goes completely wrong, you can still recover from it and your data and your computer isn't at risk. So I'm going to start by setting the name. By typing in Ubuntu, it automatically fills in the type and the version. For example, if I typed in Windows, it changed to Windows 7. But for now, we're going to do Ubuntu, of course. I have 6 gigs of RAM in this computer, so you can actually set how much RAM you want to give the virtual machine. I'm going to give it 1024 megabytes of RAM. Now you can create a virtual hard disk. So this is how much space your installation will have within your computer. I'm going to create a virtual hard disk now, and I'm going to set it to dynamically allocated. This means that it will use the least amount of space possible and then will grow once more data is added. So on my main computer, it won't be taxing, it won't use too much space on it. So I'm going to give it, let's give it 15 gig. And there we are. So now we're going to start up this virtual computer. It's a computer in a computer, man. It's a paradox. It's like a wormhole. What is this? So I've clicked start, and now it's asking for an optical disk file. So this is the Ubuntu image which I downloaded from the website. These files are usually supposed to be burnt to a CD or copied to a USB, but in this case we can open the image directly and basically pretend that we're inserting a CD into the virtual computer. We aren't really. We're basically going to get the image file and then load up in here. After downloading an image file from the Ubuntu website, I've loaded it in and I'm going to click start. Now it's going to start trying to install the image. Of course, it requires a bit of user input, but as you can see, Linux is booting up. A bit of a blooper here, but I thought it'd be good to know. This is what's called a kernel panic. This is the equivalent of the blue screen of death or the error screen. This is basically when the computer sees something is completely and utterly wrong, has a panic, this will happen. The scroll lock button on your computer will flash, and yeah, it's basically telling you that everything's gone just completely nuts and it crashes. So yeah, if you see one of these, you might want to be concerned, but also report the error and maybe someone will try and help you. And welcome, my friends, to Ubuntu. So after waiting for it to boot up and sorting something out on my computer before, we're now in the Ubuntu desktop. This is the install screen, and this is where you'd install the system. Now usually I'd say for someone new, I'd say to try it, but we're going to get it installed so I can show you more in depth what different things do and what the benefits are of using Linux over Windows. But hey, let's not be elitist here yet. Let's show you what it is first. So I selected to install Ubuntu, and we're going to set it to download updates while installing Ubuntu, because every time you download an image in Ubuntu, there's no guarantee that it's always the latest version, because Linux is updated very quickly. There are lots of different packages or software in it that updates very, very quickly. In fact, with the latest versions of Ubuntu, there's something called nightly build, where updates are made almost every night. How cool is that? Now, in this demonstration, we are going to erase the entire disk on the virtual machine and install Ubuntu on top of everything. This is because this is almost treated like a separate computer from your own. I can erase the disk without fear of it causing any damage or you know, or anything to my main system. However, if you're on a brand new computer and you want to use only Ubuntu, you want to erase the entire disk and install it. However, if you're on a system and you want to install both Windows and Ubuntu, or other operating systems, you'll need to do something called partitioning. There's lots of videos available for that, but there's multiple words for it. There's partitioning, there's dual booting, and there's many different terms for it, but it's running 2 operating systems or more at the same time. Before you click continue, it will ask you whether you want to write the changes to disks or not. Make sure to read carefully and make sure that you're editing the disks you need to, as editing the wrong disk can cause lots of problems. We've all done it at some point. And the install process begins. So we want to set our location, our keyboard type, and once it's loaded, we're going to set our name. So I'm going to say Yuki -VM. Oh, bit of lag there. Yuki-VM. Virtual. Oh yeah, I can just put Yuki and then I'll put VirtualBox in. And you're going to choose a password. In this case, I'm going to choose the worst password ever. This is a bad password. This is a bad password. And we're going to set to log in automatically so I don't have to do that again and bear the suffering of that awful password. That password represents me. It's like, it's too long for what it's trying to say, and it makes no sense, and you probably shouldn't talk to it or ever use it in anything. Man, I'm so self-loathing. Anyway, the install process is beginning now, so you can sit back, get whatever beverage you like. I'm too young to drink, so in my case, tea or coffee if it's the morning, but it's currently, I should be in bed right now. It's a school night. I should stop talking about drinking, shouldn't I? I should stop recording this, but I'm not, because that is dedication or determination if you want to go there. Birds are singing. People are playing. Kids like you should be at home installing Ubuntu. Woo! And hooray, the installation is complete. So it basically runs through the steps and you get this fancy dialogue here telling you that you need to restart. It's exciting. You know, you're gonna see what Linux is. It's all new. So you're gonna click restart and it's gonna boot back into Ubuntu. Oh, make sure to remove any installation media you used as well, if you don't want to boot back into the install one rather than the actual computer. So let's reboot and have a look. Oh, also a quick note, if your computer is less supported, for example, it's an Apple device or a Windows 8.1 with Bing or a ARM powered device, if it loads the installer and you can see the desktop here, the X server is running, then it is highly likely the installation itself will work. But if it doesn't, report it on the forums or whatever distribution you're using, as it could be a bug, and once it's known, then it can be fixed, and you can help many more people that way. And we are in the Ubuntu desktop. Nice work. So we're finally in the desktop now. This is quite refreshing from Windows, as you can see. It's similar to Mac OS X, only instead of the icons being at the bottom, they're on the side. Now, there are many different looks for Ubuntu. I've shown you some earlier, and for now, this is what we're going to familiarize ourselves with, as it's a good starting point. Instead of the start menu, you have something, well, not a lot of people like it, but it's what comes bundled with Ubuntu anyway. This whole environment is called Unity. And if you click on this icon, it basically redirects you to what is useful at that time. So if you click on search your computer, you can say, okay, I don't know, music. And it will show you a music player, which is Rhythmbox. If you want to access your mail, it'll be Thunderbird, your videos, edit text, etc. Okay, now, to access other applications, we're going to go to Applications menu and we can see loads of applications. Music, lots of music will come here. There's no music available at the moment. And your pictures, no pictures available. So that is the menu. Of course, you've got your browser here. In this case, it's Firefox, my browser of choice. I do like Chrome, but Firefox is more, well, better designed for CPU rather than GPU. So that's why I personally prefer Firefox. As you can see, the browser works. So, we're going to close our tabs there. So let's start by doing some really basics. Change the wallpaper. So we're going to go to change desktop background. And wait a minute, you know how to change a wallpaper. Do I think you're dumb? Come on, let's do something awesome. Let's hop into the terminal. I'm going to right click on the desktop, open the terminal. Now let's do something that looks totally hackery. We're going to type in top. Bam! Now, don't scream. This isn't as scary as it looks. Top is what's similar to Windows in you've got the task manager. I'm going to get the task manager up in Windows. And you have basically this and top are pretty much the same thing. They show which tasks are running. If you want it to look even more similar, you can go into processes. They both show the processes running on your computer. Now it will show the most intensive process at the top. I just minimize everything because I'm a goofball. And as you can see, the most intensive process on Ubuntu is switching between Xorg and Compiz. On here, it's Avast. Antivirus, aren't they great? Or is it antiviri? What is the plural anyway? So, this is top anyway, and to exit it, you can, by the way, you can also press H for help within top, but usually you just want Q because Q allows you to quit top, and you can just type in clear, and bam, all nice and clean. Now, if you want to also look like a hacker, what you can do is you can use something called Nano. Nano is a text editor, so you can use it to edit cool text. So we're going to do, I don't know, hello, my name is Yuki. I think people watch my videos. God help them. And then you can obviously kill the process Nano because who wants to save that anyway? So let's give a bit of a rundown of Unity anyway. So this is the Ubuntu skin anyway on Linux. And this is subject to change, there's major changes going on. For example, the Ubuntu software store you see here is being removed soon because it's known to be quite slow. It's being replaced with something called GNOME software. GNOME is a collection of applications designed to change the layout of your desktop. Basically a desktop environment. And this is a heavily themed version of GNOME. And every type of GNOME reskin has its own features, for example. This has the features where it includes this menu here. Now, an important part in learning Linux is learning to use the terminal. The terminal is what you see here. It's basically a direct window into the computer and how to run stuff, for example. So let's give some basic commands. I gave you top earlier, and another good command would be sudo, or sudo, depending how you pronounce it, or sudo-wudo if you're Brock. Did I just make that joke? Man, I just feel a viewer just leave after hearing that. So sudo basically temporarily makes you an administrator. So if you're worried about causing damage or something, then you can quickly sudo and, you know, basically elevate your privileges. So let's say I want to install a package. Oh, that's cool. So let's say, what's a good package to install? I want to install a package named supertuxcart, for example. So I'm going to do sudo apt-get install supertuxcart. Or actually supertux, actually. Yeah, let's get the game supertux. And we're going to input our password. This is a bad password. Now note how the password doesn't actually show up. It is hidden. This is a security feature to stop someone from, well, reading the password off your screen. And as you can see, it's found the package, okay? It's read the package list. These are at the mirror, whichever mirror you choose. It will get dependencies needed, and suggest extra packages if you want to install those too, and tell you which packages will be installed. It will tell you how much needs to be downloaded and how much disk space will be used. You press Y to continue, and bam, it will start downloading it. See, you're looking like a hacker already. You're looking kind of cool. But when you see what this actually installs, you won't look as cool, but you're having a lot of fun anyway. So now we are going to basically, once that's all done, we can literally type in the name of the package, and in most cases it should run it. For example, if you install the package Firefox, then to run it you could just type in Firefox. Of course our icon's here, but it's always good to know the terminal command in case something goes wrong. So the full name for the SuperTux package is actually SuperTux2, which is a bit misleading, although we installed SuperTux, but let's not get too complicated. So we're going to run SuperTux2, and slowly, as it's a virtual machines sometimes aren't the quickest things, it will basically start loading up the game. SuperTux2 is a game, by the way. It's a little platformy Mario clone. So now SuperTux is open. It's running a bit slowly because again I'm on a virtual machine, but here's the game. Usually you'd play it, and we're going to play it after I'm done recording. So to close it, we're just going to click on the X in the top right, and bam, well, top left I mean. And it is literally that simple. So we've actually done quite a lot. We've managed to get the equivalent of Task Manager up. We've managed to use sudo and also apt-get to install a package, and we've launched a game. So yeah, and if you think that Linux is completely different to a normal computer, think again, because you still have Word. This is the equivalent of Word in Ubuntu called LibreOffice, and there is a way using Wine to get normal Microsoft Office working within Ubuntu. Ubuntu is also relatively quick when installed on a computer on its own, because Linux is programmed much differently compared to Windows. Ubuntu is special though, in the way that it can still offer the familiarity of Windows, but for gaming it maybe isn't as quick. For gaming, you might also have a look at the other solutions, which can actually increase the amount of FPS you can get within certain games, because your computer is having to use less resources. And as you can see, we have LibreOffice Writer, so we can see I am writing something again. This time, not as vulgar. I am a good... Wait, no I'm not. Anyway, let's close that. Don't save that, I'm never saving these. And yeah, so it is still usable as a normal computer. You have your Word, you have your browser, and you can download loads of applications. Steam has been ported to Linux, and lots of Steam games have been ported to Linux, like Counter-Strike, and more games coming as well. Half-Life has been ported as well, and of course many more coming. So you know, you can make your Ubuntu desktop look a lot more different, but it runs much quicker than a normal computer. And in later videos, I'm going to show you more cool stuff you can do and more different distributions. So anyway, thanks for watching so far. I hope you've learned something, and if there's anything else you want to see, let me know, send me a message, and I'll be glad to do it. Thanks so much for watching so far. I'm just starting out, and it means like a lot. I hope you get to try out Linux sometime, because it is actually a lot of fun. So goodbye from me.